think we're live. Good evening, everyone. Hope you're well. Hope you're rested and recovered, just like me from the weekend. Oh my goodness me! Welcome to our recording of the pod on the Ball podcast number 85, I think. So that's very exciting. I'll try and I don't know if I am going to get to actually share it, but on Facebook. But yeah, I hope you're looking forward to what we've got in store because it should be quite fun, I hope. And I'll show you the guests we've got. There we go. We've got Steve Sanders mid eating his dinner, which is exciting. Oh, he's eating his dinner. There you go. You've managed to see that live, so that's exciting. Jon Rogers is here with his immaculate beard. He was just showing us his comb earlier. It's not a euphemism. He does actually, there it is, have a comb. And Anna Say is here as well, wearing a very lovely top. I might have to ask her about that when we go live. But obviously, can't do that now. There we go. We'll crack on. We're going to go through the pod. I don't know if it'll be the longest. Who knows? I don't feel like we can go over the Daniel Farke stuff again because I felt like we did it last week. But maybe we have to. Maybe that is what we're stuck with for the forthcoming 8 years. Who knows? So we'll of course talk about the game. We've got Wits End coming up with star sign puns and things like that. And yeah, you know the usual drill. We will try and get through some of your questions if we can, but we obviously can't guarantee we'll do many of them because it's more of a live podcast show than a Q&A kind of thing. But I will try and get these Q&As up and running. Maybe this international break coming up will be a good opportune moment to do that. But other than that, I reckon we crack on with the pod. So I'm going to get the bits and bobs ready. The guys are obviously ready to go as well, which is always helpful. So let me get the thingies right, which are all there. And then I reckon we crack on with the show. Play the right video, Michael. Okay, here we go. Hello all and welcome to the 85th edition of On the Ball, the Norwich City Podcast that didn't bother asking trick or treat. I'm Michael Bailey. I cover the Canaries for the Athletic. I hope this finds you safe and well. On the way, Payne and the Rafinha, awaiting the mutiny, and not now, Brentford. We will work through all that and more with our guests this fine evening. They are, look at that for timing, Norwich number one chief NCFC numbers, otherwise known as our very own Steve Sanders.
Good evening, Michael. How are you?
Very good. Thank you very much. We also have Canaries songsmith Jon Rogers.
Hello, Michael. How are you?
Good, thank you. He's clapping himself. Always appreciated.
Sorry, I was clapping other people.
And other people as well. Steve's joining it. It's carnage already. And may I also welcome City fan and budding journalist Anna Say.
Hello.
There we all are. Everyone's applauding. We've not had enough clapping. Maybe that's the problem. It's been a football world short of clapping. So I'm glad that we've managed to bring some in before we no doubt jeer and boo by the end of the podcast. How are we all doing, Steve? How are you?
I'm okay, thank you, Michael. I'm sounding slightly hoarse today. Mainly, well, I think it's not feeling 100%, but also overly cheering the goal yesterday has done my voice in, which of course was pointless because we didn't even win. So but I'm going for the hard man of the pod vibe with my deep voice. Obviously, I'll have to wrestle that title from Jon, but
I don't think it sounds any different, to be honest, Steve. That's not a normal voice. No,
I'm apologising.
You're picking up your Barry Whiteness, but you've got nothing going on.
Damn it. Okay. Well, I won't be able to do that falsetto section that we normally have in the pod this week, anyway. Unfortunately, so yeah.
Not this week. Back next week. Well, rest your throat.
I'll try.
Nothing of note really to require it until once this pod is done. So that's exciting, obviously.
I'm sure people will be delighted that they don't have to hear me as much, although who knows, I might just talk myself hoarse anyway.
Well, as someone tweeted me earlier today, the horse has bolted, which was, of course, a Farkism.
Nice
yeah, I thought so. John, how are you? Looking well.
I'm okay, mate. How are you? No one asked how you are. Have you noticed? They always like bang on about themselves, about their voice, about how croaky they are. But no one ever asked about you,
John,
Michael. How are you?
I don't care.
Oh, okay. Steve, neither do I, but we're just going to play.
Yeah. So it was a long weekend, but I'm very well. Thank you very much.
Good.
It was. Yeah. It's watching the next 9 months of your career sort of staring back at you as quite what it could be from here. Who knows what we're going to get? Yeah, I'm not asking for sympathy. Don't worry about that. Anna, thanks for joining us this evening. It is a lovely top. What is on it?
Minnie Mouse.
Minnie Mouse. I wouldn't have said that from where I was, so that's exciting. It's good to know. Are you well?
I'm all right. I'm surprised I don't have a cold after standing in the rain for several hours selling programs, only to then watch that.
Yeah, there's no consolation in the program selling at that point, I suppose. But thank you for providing a service to the supporters, for some of whom it may have been their highlight of the day. So let's not belittle it. Okay, well, I tell you what, let's crack on, shall we, with this week's headline act. A quick warning, I haven't reduced the volume on this, so just turn down your volume slightly before I play this sting now for headline act. Maybe I'll celebrate Norwich's first win by reducing the volume on that sting. So apologies. Although if you're listening to it on your audio player, I probably have sorted that one bit in the edit. Although John's just had a small power cut, which is exciting. I don't know what's going on there, but that doesn't really translate into audio either. I'm trying to put it off, but I can't. Norwich have now lost 8 of their 10 Premier League games this season. They lost to Leeds, we all did a sterling effort, didn't we, last week, Steve, trying very hard to talk up a victory. I don't feel like we've struggled for positivity. We've not given up on anyone. We did our best. Have you given up on them yet? Or now, I should say. Oh,
yeah, definitely I've given up. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know where we go from here. What do we say? I think we did say last week something like, if we go back to 1 o'clock instead of 2 o'clock, we did say last week, I think, that quite often a bad team on paper results in a good performance, but this is the classic bad team, bad performance. I looked at that side and I kind of thought, really sure what the formation is or what the system that we're playing. 10-15 minutes in, I was still none the wiser, really. I think I talked to Ben Mounter about it last night, and he said that I think we were maybe 3 at the back in possession and 4 at the back out of possession, or maybe it was the other way around. I haven't really worked it out. But yeah, I think the first half, to be fair, was okay. I think it was 2 not great sides going at each other and reasonably even without us actually creating anything particularly noteworthy. And the second half was a shambles, and it was completely disorganised. And I think the most damning thing for Farke that we can say is that the identity, what happened to that team? Even when we were losing 2 years ago, that team that used to play through midfield, used to take sides on, and okay, we'd get beaten, and it was painful sometimes to see us concede as many goals as we did because we were naive. But at least we had a plan, at least we had an identity. And in that second half, 63% pass completion. That's just a number, obviously, but that's so low, even for an average Premier League team, let alone one that purports to try and keep the ball and to try and play attractive football. And I know that you don't want us to keep talking about the manager every week, but I think we're going to. And that for me was the turning point on yesterday. I was kind of on the fence, but I think I'm in. Unfortunately, I think I'm in the Farke out camp. I don't know where we go from here.
To clarify, I certainly don't want us not to talk about it because I think it would be futile not to talk about it. I think Steve's right to bring up the second half, John, because I mean, I think it, and I said it at the time, it's inexplicable really to concede a second goal immediately having equalised. I think in that scenario, you have to be so bright, and Norwich just were dense. But the complete loss of any kind of shape or direction or belief, it just sort of vomited out onto the pitch in those final sort of 20 minutes, didn't it really, John? And we all just sort there watching it.
I don't know how you're both criticising the second half. That's the half we scored the October goal. How can you bring that down? It was a moment. See, when a manager gets to a point where you think he needs to move on, and I'm not quite there yet. I'm really close, but I'm not quite there yet. I'm like just looking over the edge into the abyss at the moment. I think it's normally one of like anger. You want him out. You like there's a kind of like a real negativity in the crowd and on social media. So I'm just really a bit sad about it all because it's been so good for so long, and then suddenly we obviously had to try something different in this Premier League era. Because the first time we went up, we obviously after the lockdown half of the season, it all went wrong and it was rubbish then. And they've tried something different, which is kind of seeing to like chip the ball into the channels and win the second balls and like flood towards the second ball. And we kind of did that a little bit in the first half and it kind of worked, but it's not what we wanted. It's not what we like. It's not what we've fallen in love with Farke over. And now that's gone. What's left is a manager who's just losing a lot of games and not scoring a lot of goals and conceding a lot of games. And it's crushingly sad. That's what it is at the moment for me. And I don't want to kind of like be one of these like get Farke out, like that sort of like negativity because I don't think he deserves that. But when there was that kind of like rumor in the press about 2 or 3 weeks ago about Wolfsburg was going to possibly come in, and I just thought that would have been the most perfectly nice ending to it all. I would have most people would want that, but now obviously it wasn't real, and it just feels a bit sad. The football that we're seeing is not what Daniel Farke made his name in, and it's just sad at the moment. I don't know what else to say about it.
It is very sad. I think that's a really fine word from it. And the thing about Daniel Farke from the very start has always been the goodwill that he has held through so much of the fan base, so much of it. Probably, maybe even that extended to Sunday, you know, because thinking about it retrospectively, and it sort of struck me after the occasion, even at full time after that, no one bayed for anything. No one really. And a lot of people say, it's because the fan base of this, that, and the other, which is, you know, a lazy comparison because not all of them are. But I don't think anyone really wants to sit there going, "Oh, Daniel, please just go." No one wants to chant that. No one wants to pick that out necessarily. But Anna, is the reality just the reality? I mean, I guess we have like the situation, and then it's how you deal with it, and whether you just let it, you know, go on in the hope something will change or don't. I mean, where are we? What happens?
Well, I obviously can't speak for everybody, but personally, for me, all I want from him is just a bit more fight. I mean, I mentioned it after the match that, you know, you've got a problem when the goalkeeper coach is more animated, is shouting more, and he's trying to get the team going more than the actual manager is. I mean, I love Ed Wootton, but I'd love to see that passion from the manager. And I always go to his post-match press conference and his interviews because they're absolutely baffling at times because it feels like we're watching different matches. And I do have notes and I've written down some quotes from the interview, the one that he did with the Norwich. And like one of them was, "I can't blame my lads. They put in a really good performance today." And I'm like, what did they? Can he not blame the lads? And it was always the plan in the home game against Leeds to go for it. I don't know if he told his players that. And also the one that I've seen a lot of people comment on is we lost it against the top three. We had no chance in all 3 games. And I've seen a lot of people mention, well, did Crystal Palace not think that they had a chance? Had they not thought they had a chance, would they have won their match? You look at the Brighton game; they didn't write that match off. Look what happened there. And for any manager to write any match off is not good enough. And I just want a bit more passion, a bit more fight for him to go, you know what, that wasn't good enough, without adding an excuse onto the end of it. I just want him to try. He looks devoid of emotion, not like we saw when he first came here. He looks like he's given up himself, and he's got that emotion. How on earth does he expect his players to try and put in a fight, keep going, don't give up?
I thought his post-match press conferences were really interesting, actually, because he did seem particularly deflated. To me, and I appreciate it's in the aftermath of the game, but I thought he just looked a bit broken. I've never seen him do what he did at full time, which was basically stand sort of about 20 yards from the touchline, sort of just clap both sides and then just disappear down the tunnel. I mean, he hasn't done that before. And I suppose there's so much here where it's like, well, no manager really is going to resign or walk away. And it's like everyone, the leadership of the club clearly wants it to carry on. They want the idea there's loads of points still to play for. You know, we've got to deal with it ourselves. We've got to turn it around. But I'm conscious of what sort of expense that comes at, really, Steve. I mean, I don't know. It's very hard to decipher where it goes from here because of that situation. I mean, to be honest, the longer it goes on, the more I'm thinking, although that's probably the right thing to do in terms of changing the head coach, I look at that squad now and I'm thinking, I don't even think it's good enough to compete if you brought in a very, very good manager. I don't know.
So you've put the image in my head of Farke, like after the game, just going up and doing these, hey, just trying.
I was thinking, oh boo. No one.
Just me then. No.
They were lovely moments. Those moments, weren't they?
Yeah, weren't they? I'm not sure I agree, Michael. I think the players are there. There's part of me which is thinking, can we at least get to see a manager like, okay, I've honestly, I know we've got to do a few more of these. I'm not expecting a step. I think we're so far adrift of where we need to be. We're not even really competing with the teams around us, let alone the teams at the top of the league. So let's just park that theory of even being able to get a manager in who can keep. So I know that sounds defeatist, but that's genuinely where my mindset's at. But can we at least get somebody who can make us enjoy the next 28 games? We've still got 14 more games to go and see at Carrow Road. We've still got 6 more months of this season. I can't. It feels soul destroying to me to think that the next 28 games are going to be like the first 10, and I can't see a way that they won't. And I do think we've got one season of Billy Gilmore. We've probably got one season of Norman. Christos Jolis cost us 10 million and was supposedly one of the hottest properties in Europe and looks completely lost. And look, I take everything that Jon says on board about what Farke has done. I think he's been absolutely magnificent, and no Norwich City fan would disagree. 18-19, best season of my life. And last year was fantastic as well. But his record as a Premier League manager, you don't even need me to reel off the stats. We know it ain't good. And I almost feel like, for all concerned, it's kind of better if you just move him on. And can anybody give a justification now? I hate to even talk like this, but can anybody give a justification now of why he should be in the dugout on Saturday? Like, is there a good reason why he should still be here on Saturday?
I mean, it's a good time probably to bring up the Stuart Webber interview from last week, because there was a line there: "Don't give up on this group now." Which is obviously everything was said before Leeds. I think they were hoping for a big performance against Leeds, but I mean, the whole conversation didn't take place because the outcome was going to be different the other side of the weekend. I think you have to be realistic about why they were doing that. That is obviously the mindset, is that there are so many jobs in place at Norwich that you can't just change one person. But it does seem like Norwich City, Jon, are the only football club in the world currently operating in that manner, basically. The results don't
Watford-
matter. And they keep,
Yeah.
to be honest, this all smacks of the fact that the results don't really matter. That is what it feels like to me.
Mm-hmm.
That actually doesn't matter because we've got a big plan, and that big plan is to, what's the big plan?
Can I say something?
No, because
Don't ask me.
because the big
Right.
plan before was always to keep growing so that we eventually become an established Premier League club. But this is regression, and what's the big plan?
Well, the issue is, as Stuart Webber said during his interview, which I thought was awful personally. Didn't like what he was saying at all. I thought the things like "don't give up on us now." It's like, well, we haven't, mate. That's the one thing that Norwich fans haven't done. We've put up with quite a horrific run in the Premier League again. We haven't given up, and that's the one thing. The noise against Brighton, I think it was, when Pookie was on that 1-on-1. The noise that came from that moment, that was a point when we said we haven't given up from our point of view, and we were still pushing, asking for decent football. And now we've come to the point where it's just the whole place is just muddled. And again, I'm going to go back to the embarrassing thing I've talked previously about how it is a bit embarrassing now. And people are going, we're down before November. We are down. And it wasn't even November before we were like, everyone's just given up. And it's kind of, I know I'm kind of contradicting myself, but that is a point where we have kind of given up on the kind of the football that we've been given for the last 10 games or so. And it's just not what we were used to, and it's not working, but it still continues to kind of be shown. What has Josh Sargent done? Not too much. He had a great half against Brighton. It's just that you can go through all the things that have gone wrong, and recruitment's going to be one of them again. Everyone was absolutely wetting themselves when we made all these signings, and we spent the 11th most money in Europe, and we've gone backwards. And it can't everything be put onto Farke's shoulders. I think it's a collective thing again. Sorry, Michael. I just think we're pushing it towards Farke, but he's the only thing we can change. I guess he's the only thing that we can change. We can't change players. We can't change Webber. I guess we can. His contract's up, obviously, but Neil Adams is ready to come in. That's not much of a change in that system, but Farke's the only one we can change, and that's why I guess that's why so many people want that to happen. I'm probably convinced and change my mind by the end of this podcast. Because as I said, I'm like on the edge. I'm just like, I'm going to throw myself off this cliff now because I might as well join everyone else.
I mean, there was a line from Stuart Webber who's asked about his contractual situation. He said it will get sorted soon. And I think if you asked everyone what that generally means, they'd probably say, well, it probably means he's going to sign a new contract there, doesn't it? Because that's what you would assume when people say that. We will have to see. Wasn't probably the same euphoria to that little tease as there might have been about 3 months ago. I get the impression when that came out. And I suppose all of this does pose a question over the recruitment, Anna, because the one thing I do think is that Norwich bought young players who I think they felt would add value because based on the fact that they're young and will therefore improve, but they don't seem to be ready for the Premier League players, and that's clearly an issue when you're where you are now. And are any of those players ready to play in the Championship next year, even though they've signed 4 5-year deals? I mean, I'm just not convinced about it. But
so I think that's the main point within the Norwich fans is those who believe that the players are good enough and those who believe that the players aren't good enough for the Premier League. I'm somebody who believes that truly believes, which is why it's so frustrating, that those players are good enough for the Premier League. I mean, I don't believe he's playing his best players at the moment. We're seeing players left on the bench and we're desperate for them to come in and play. I mean, I know obviously Gilmour hasn't been at his best when he has been given the chances, but I don't think I don't think he's being utilised right. And there's so many players where I'm like, you look at them individually, you look at the things they've done in the past, you look at like Kabak and how much he was loved at Liverpool, you look at Norman and the things he's done. I know it was in Russia and it's not the best football, but he still looked incredibly good. And there's so many players there where I'm like, individually, they are very, very skillful players. They are very good players. And as everybody said, they've come to Norwich, to come to Carrow Road, and they just look absolutely lost. So that tells me that they're being managed poorly. They're being coached poorly. So I don't know. Obviously, you can't. Maybe that's down to Farke's staff. Obviously, he won't be doing everything. So you have to wonder what their part in the plan is, what they do on the training ground, and you just have to think that maybe he needs to just go back to what he knows and what he's done in the past, the things that we were trying to do last season. Because what he's doing at the moment, I don't even think he knows what he's doing. He's changing it every single match. He's chopping and changing the players too much. They don't know whether they're coming or going. I think he just needs to settle it down, go back to basics, and do what he did well.
I mean, just to say, so I had this conversation with my brother. Actually, my brother made this point after we signed Jollis and Sargent, which was we are signing players for the future rather than for now. We're signing a 19-year-old, and he said I'm worried about that. And I hate to admit it because I contradicted him at the time. I said, but that's the model. That's the way Norwich operate. They buy players and they sell them on for value. It look, you know.
I've got to ask about Sargent though, because I get that he probably was one for the future, but normally we look at players who already have a good record and we're buying them buying them to develop even further. I didn't realise just how bad Sargent's goal scoring record was. I know he wasn't in the best team, but even so, he's come here, he's missing certain opportunities that I don't want to go into again. And I just think, why did we get him? What could they have possibly seen which made us think he's the one for the future?
I think one thing I'd like to throw in is that I've already seen some people say, well, can't blame Daniel Farke for the recruitment. But I think Daniel certainly would have approved everything that's come in. And some of them were most definitely, his signings and he happily, saw the players come in. So there's definitely that. And it's then obviously up to him to get a tune out of them if he can or can't. But I suppose the only other point I wanted to make was that Leeds were kind of there for the taking yesterday. I thought I was surprised with how bad they were. Yeah. They did have by some distance the best player on the pitch in Rafinha, who by the way cost £17 million. I mean, that's not masses, is it? No. And that's the sort of thing that does make me think that Norwich actually got themselves. I thought they dealt quite, because there'd been a lot of change at the club this year. And I initially thought, okay, you've dealt quite well with that, and you've recruited quite, you've managed to hold it together and bring your recruitment in. But actually, now I look at it, they were kind of going to start with this small squad that they were going to need to keep fit. And actually, they brought in a lot of players. They haven't got a small squad now. They've got quite a big squad with a handful of players who aren't really getting enough game time to keep them relevant. Yeah, and they may be players who they're going to have to rely on, maybe next season or whichever. So I maybe it did all get a bit more muddled than we thought. And I think it's easy to be excited when signings are coming in through the door, but it's not just about that.
That's the point. Maybe they brought too many players, because it's another thing I've seen battered around. They lost a lot of big identities from that dressing room. You look at Hernandez, Hugel, Stiepermann, Vrancic, all people who knew how to play the Farke's system. They were people who brought the identity to the club, like Tetty as well. And obviously we know the impact Skip had last season. They brought the identity to the club. They were good at doing what Farke wanted from them. These players that they've brought in, they have no identity. There's no collectiveness to them. They don't feel like a team. And I think that's the problem. That's why they all just look so lost. Maybe they brought too many players in. It was exciting at the time, but it just seems like it might have been a bit much now.
I think on just quickly on the Leeds point as well, it's interesting that I would say Farke's previous nadir at Carrow Road was Leeds 3 years ago, and the start of that season where we lost 3-0. I think if we'd seen something like that, because that Leeds side that we saw then was probably better than the one that played yesterday, arguably in terms of the performance. I think if we'd seen that Leeds side turn up and beat us 3-0 as a decent side could have done, I think then it could have really turned, and that might have changed the way the fans were. I was doing a space with Hodgie on Sunday night, and the question was, what's it going to take for the fans to turn, if not that? And I kind of didn't really think about it at the time, but I think if we're against a Southampton at home, as we will be in a couple of weeks, and we're 2-0 down at half-time and we're actually out of the game in the second half, it could start getting ugly. And I wouldn't want it to, but it could, and that's not unthinkable that might happen.
I feel grateful that we're heading to Brentford on Saturday rather than Brentford coming to Carrow Road, I must admit. Well, I tell you what, I think we've covered most bases there, haven't we? Pretty depressing, but we're all still alive. So that's something. We have had a couple of messages in, which I was just going to share. First of all, Will Hinsley got involved. He said, boo. Sorry, force of habit. So there we go. And GTO's been in touch. Love Anna, one of the best. There we go. A bit of Anna love there, which is nice. Probably a very big fan of your top as well, I would imagine, Anna. Let's have a go. Kevin.
My top.
Yeah, I was going to say, John
dull.
looks very smart. John looks very smart tonight. I did.
Just tonight then. Is that what you're saying? God, Steve, you're all the same.
Most of the time, you're a disgrace.
Yeah. Moving on. Kevin Bain says, Farke out, I'm afraid. Let's see if we can get some Stephen Stibbins, the October goal. It's embarrassing. Yeah, the October goal. But hey, I had to check that it is now 3 goals in the Premier League this season. And what, have we equalised the own goals tally now, Steve? Is that right?
We have. We're level. We're level on goals and own goals in the last 14 matches.
That is
some of that.
And let me just see if I can. Jeff Wyatt's been in touch. Some terrible recruitment, which never seems to get mentioned. Melvin City, Danel Sinane, Sebastian Soto, Sam McCallum, Andre Duda, Josip Drimic, to name but a few. God, you cheered us up there, Jeff. Thank you. I think
McCallum is a little bit unlucky there. I reckon if he sticks around long enough, he might get a shot on left back, to be honest. The number of left backs we've used this season.
I can't see the other two being there at the moment because they have been absolutely binned, really, haven't they? Which is kind of the subplot to Sunday.
Can we just say though, Andy Omobamidele, the one good point I thought from yesterday.
Absolutely.
No? Yes.
Good. Well, he was playing a curious role, I thought, because as you kind of mentioned at the start, Steve, it was Norwich were basically playing a 3-5-2, but it switched to a 4-4-2 in certain circumstances, which is a bit lopsided and curious. I think it was just because they like leaving Omobamidele with Rafinha and seeing how he'd get on. But it was obviously designed to try and get Milot Rashica higher up the pitch and things like that, which it's quite inventive. But it did kind of leave their best player with the most space was probably the two things it kind of achieved. And that did seem like a bit of an issue. Also, then going up against probably the youngest player on the pitch at the same time, who hadn't played that position before. When you distill it all, not great.
He dealt with it really well, though, I thought.
He did. He
had some difficult moments, but and obviously scored October's goal of the month, as John has rightly pointed out. So
literally. And as much as it was nice to see Christos Jolis come on, that did worry me that he brought him on then, because I don't know, it just felt like, I'm going to stick one of the young players in now. I'm going to, bring this kid on so you can see, because I have to say, Christos came on and he looked absolutely consumed by the situation, which
he did flick on out of play at one point. Which
he did.
Really, that was good clearing.
That happened. Yeah.
I mean, it was on the halfway line, but it was a good clearance from.
I think it was from a pass from a teammate as well.
Yeah, it was. So, I mean, again, that's fine. We're working at the bottom here now, Michael. We're working up. We kick the ball forward. Okay, that's a good start, and it touched one of our players, which is another good thing.
Quite forward and quite long, I think, were two of the things that happened. So, okay, well, let's move on from that, shall we? And let's see if we can grab a bit of some of this, shall we? This is where the podders each get a window to bring up an issue they're struggling to let go. I mean, presuming it's one of the ones we've already struggled to let go. It's called Pick That One Out. If the guys lose themselves for more than 30 seconds, then the buzzer sounds. And the buzzer sounds just like this. There we go. That is the buzzer. And then when the buzzer sounds, it's time to let go. Who would like to go first? John, do you want to go first with this?
Yeah, go on then.
All right, then away you go.
So there's one thing we can all go at Farke at is about the players that he doesn't put on the pitch. We all talk about Sorensen's not being on, talk about Billy Gilmore not being on the pitch all the time. I mean, Farke and his team see these players in training every single week. And if they're not performing in training and you put them on the pitches and they fail, which they have kind of early on in the season. Oh my God, my lights have gone again. But don't worry. But what was I saying? I don't know. I forgot. And that's basically saying that Farke and his team know the best team that he's possibly putting out. Although they're not performing on the pitch, let's concern ourselves about the players on the pitch rather than the players who are not playing on the pitch.
Well, there we go.
That wasn't very good because my light went halfway through. But sorry.
No, it's fine. I gave you a few added seconds. I gave you some
sorry.
injury time. Your light was injured, so I played on.
My biggest pet hate in football.
Like that. It does involve trust. Yeah. The lights have gone out. It does involve trust in the team selection, I suppose, doesn't it? That's the one thing. But let's not be too forlorn over that. Anna, would you like to go?
Sure, why not?
I mean, it's a contractual obligation for you being here, so there's no actual choice. All right, then away you go.
Well, just talking about man management, Farke always seems so intent on tearing the players down. He doesn't want the egos. He doesn't want to praise young players too much for fear it'll go to their head. He want to keep players' feet on the ground and want them thinking that they're bigger than they are. When all he's interested in is tearing them down, he should be building them up, making them believe that they can take on anybody that's in front of them. When even before a match, he will say, oh, well, playing Chelsea, that's going to be a difficult one. That's going to be against the European champions. If he's telling us that, surely that can't be any different.
Beautifully put. It's funny how we're picking holes in him in his sort of management of players, which is something it's always kind of come together, hasn't it? And it's but yeah, there we go. It's been a tiring pod today. We're only halfway through. Would you like to go?
I've still got to do a moan as well. Yeah. Do I need to do my own lighting? Is that part of this now? Are we turning it into a full sensory performance?
Only if you want some added
time. I don't think I can talk and do that at the same time. So no.
Go then.
I don't know how popular this one will be, but I think that there's been a lot of speculation recently about Todd Cantwell, and quite honestly, I think in the year 2021, knowing what we know about professional sports people, that I just don't think it's right. I think if the guy's got personal problems and issues in his own life, we need to let him deal with that. I don't think it's right to say, why is he playing for the under-23s? Is he injured? Has he fallen out with Farke? I think we just need to let the guy, sort out whatever it is he needs to sort out. And when he's ready to come back, he'll come back. And that's it.
I could have let you carry on there. Lovely stuff, Steve. Thank you very much. I did have Todd Cantwell on my list as well. So
grab that one out.
Nicely put. Well, I think we're all done there. All I was going to add, obviously, I went on a bit about Billy Gilmore last week, so I don't really want to go over the same ground, but noticeable that his mother wasn't best pleased, I think, watching the game and not seeing Billy in action. And obviously, Tom Tuchel has now spoken about whether January might be a possible recall. So,
can I just mention something quickly about Todd Cantwell?
Yes, sure. Anna, go.
What, did you not hear what Steve just said, Anna? Literally, he just said it.
Quick. But for me personally, it's the inconsistencies and what we're being told about him that is creating the speculation. It always seems to be a different reason every single match. And I just think if there was a consistent reason behind why he's not there, it might put to rest any speculation.
There we go. Well said. And it's a fair point. Yeah, it's only a communication issue. Billy Gilmore, that communication isn't going particularly well at the moment either. So I think it's either going to be play him or he's off. So that's that. And the one I forgot to mention last week was walking down Stamford Bridge. There were all these lovely banners of Chelsea players and real ownership around the area of Chelsea, the football club. And I always think, why don't Norwich do that? We have the whole city to ourselves in terms of the football club. Let's have some banners. Let's decorate the city and it being the football club city. But maybe that's not one for now. Maybe that was one for either 10 months ago or in 10 months.
What would you do, Michael? What would you put up and where?
Well, I put up some pictures of the players, some portraits of the players along.
Haven't you seen the
Gentleman's Walk, maybe.
Haven't you seen the Farke
Riverside?
On the pub?
Yeah, there is a mural on a pub. Yeah, there is a mural on the Fat Cat and Canary. That's true. That is the sole piece across a whole city where the football club, some would argue, is the only thing going on. I would obviously never say that, but
You've said that before.
which does make it slightly problematic when the football club are struggling, I think we can safely say. But there we go. Well, that is it for Pick That One Out. I think we definitely did indeed pick that one out. So therefore, I want to play us our halftime sting because it's been a while. So enjoy this. The question from here on in is: will we now be worse than we were in the first half? Let's hope not. We don't want to channel too much of what we've had to watch of recent times. Okay, so this is going to be centerfold, where basically we're going to talk about the accounts, but I don't really want to do this for very long, to be honest, because it's been and gone. And
Numbers.
It's numbers. It's numbers. I've already seen people saying, "Oh, so they made 50 million quid. Maybe they should have spent more of that." Completely missing the point that was before they had that spent it all, basically, and then some. And I suppose me reporting on you can see, read a piece on the accounts on the Athletic. The thing that struck me is that Norwich have spent a lot of money that they had. They've spent, this year and next year's parachute payment minimum, basically, essentially. They are going to have to sell if they get relegated. Their turnover to wages to turnover ratio, all be admittedly off the back of having no ticketing revenue and no catering and which one was it? Catering revenue, yes, was 116%, which seems ludicrously high. And you do kind of wonder what sort of state Norwich are. They have gone. The irony is, having had to sit there defending themselves, saying, "No, we did really go for it," is that in 9 months' time, I might be writing pieces saying, "Wish they hadn't gone for it so much." So, that's probably all I wanted to say on the accounts. But I mean, I don't know, John. Did anything strike you about all the numbers?
Don't come to me about numbers, Michael, please.
Okay, let's go to Steve because he's got numbers.
Yeah, he's the man.
He is the man. Okay, Steve, numbers.
Numbers, 116%. That sounds a bit high, doesn't it?
I don't. The total.
Yeah, I mean that. I guess talking about the conversation we had before about buying players for their resale value rather than where they're at right now. That kind of follows that they would keep doing that, and I guess it comes back to the whole: we don't have enough money to compete at the top level, so we have to find ways to do that. And look, I think we can label a lot at the way the club's been run, and I know people are annoyed about it, but one thing that it feels like we never will do is get in the position that we were in when we came under Alec Neil and David McNally, and there was no money left by the time we went down. So I think the club is in safe hands. They're not going to overspend, and I think they will find a way out of it so that we'll still be very competitive next year. That's all I have to say. I don't have any numbers to hand on that, though.
There we go. 42 minutes into this live broadcast, and we've had probably the first positive statement. So well done, Steve. Thank goodness for that. It's all about light and shade. Yeah, that's definitely worth a clap. Well done, John.
Thank you.
Anna, are you a big financial numbers fan?
No, it goes over my head completely.
Fantastic.
We've reached the point in the podcast now where we're asking, do you like financial numbers? Anyone know?
Financial numbers. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, let's move on to something we can really, really look forward to, which is, of course, the next game.
This is almost fantasy football.
Oh, yes. Remember those days when Norwich were miles ahead of Brentford? It did strike me the moment they went up in the playoffs that would be a very interesting barometer for Norwich this season. The interesting thing is, John, Brentford has probably slowed down a little bit. They lost at home to Leicester. They got smashed in the first half at Burnley. I mean, they got they deserved their praise for how well they sort of took on the season from the start. But it is still a long season, and they've got a long way to go. So there is a curious dynamic there. I think I saw that Brentford are about 1.6 in decimal odds to win the game, and Norwich are about 6. which is ludicrous, to be honest, that we are at that point. But maybe that's the table speaking for itself.
Well, can you? There's a kind of a little bit of a feel of. Can you remember when we went up and there was that Newcastle game and we got a draw with the Man City game and we were kind of getting a momentum and people were going, oh, maybe this is a different type of Norwich. And when we got a few injuries and we didn't have a centre back for about 2 months, I think it was, it all crumbled very, very quickly. Now, I'm not saying that I want anyone to get injured from Brentford, but I am saying I want lots of players from Brentford to get injured, and then we can see exactly where they will struggle. Just because they won't have that natural, that strong 11 that they've done so well with. They've done a brilliant job so far. And we'd give anything for that, to have that passion and that kind of drive they've got up, especially in the final third that they have. And if they do get injuries or they do kind of get a few, if they go to Chelsea like we did and get hammered 5, then they go Man City and get hammered 6 like we did. Who knows? Who knows what happens? They might kind of start to falter. So I think if we lose this one against Farke, if we lose this one against Brentford, I think Farke will go. I think this is his last chance.
Well, it is the November international break. And to be brutally honest, if you were going to change your head coach, then to do it during a 2-week period when all your players are away would probably be quite a good idea. My personal opinion is if they aren't actually working out what to do, should they need to do it, then that is a dereliction of duty. Like Norwich seriously need to be working out that if the time comes, they need to have someone in place. And a bit like Spurs, dare I say it, if you're going to get rid of someone, make sure you know who you're going to get in and bring them in. Although I don't think they've actually confirmed Conte just yet. The thing, Anna, with Brentford for me, and everyone, long-term listeners to the podcast will know how much I love Thomas Farke. Farke? Have I just added an extra?
You've just merged him with Daniel Farke. That's what
in the same way that
created a monster between a Farke monster.
Franco, yeah, Thomas Farke. That's because I'm thinking of Marcel. God bless his soul. There's another cracking piece of recruitment. Yeah, let's not dwell on that, shall we? So the thing that gets me about Brentford, Anna, is that they get people in the box, they cross the ball, they're good at set pieces, they've got a long throw, they can play on the counter, they can play quick through the lines, they can go quite direct if they want to, or they can be quite patient. They have lots of different ways of doing different things. And even though they maybe tripped up a lot in the Championship, even to the point where they had to get the playoff final victory to actually get promoted, at this level, they seem to have a bit more variety to them. They carry more threats, whereas I still can't really figure out how Norwich are trying to score a goal, which is probably why they haven't scored many.
I think we've got to drop the trying to be inventive, the trying the different formations. I think it's time now to just go back to basics, try what we were doing well, and just, it's a very cliche term, but just go for it, because what do we have to lose at the moment? I think that Brentford, they need a bit of, we need a bit of fight against Brentford. They're a team that we went up with. It's certainly a match that Farke wouldn't have written off, because we all know for some reason he wrote off the games against the top teams, even though you shouldn't write off any match. And I think that stop being inventive, stop trying to do new things when at the moment we can't even do the basics well. Go back to basics, have a little belief in yourself, and go for it.
We're in a curious position here, aren't we, Steve? Because the basics, as Anna said, I think most would agree would be going back to 4-2-3-1, get your number 10 in, build the play up, possession football, and try and get in behind and play them. Is the squad able to do that? I mean, we haven't seen them in that shape, and I'm just conscious of the key play. You know, two of the best. I think we don't want to talk about it, but two of the best players from last season's Championship team no longer exist in this squad. I mean, that is a reality of the situation.
It's weird, isn't it? And I think to play 4-2-3-1 now, you'd have to probably at the moment pick Dowell in the 10, which quite honestly after yesterday, I'm not sure how well that'd work.
Get him on free kicks. Get him on free kicks. I mean, where was he hitting half of those free kicks? Can someone explain? Did he know someone in the crowd and he was trying to give him the ball?
Yeah,
because
there
honestly,
some bad ones, weren't there?
Anyway,
but yeah, just from going from like Stiepermann and Vrancic, and it seemed like we had them to spare last season. So I don't know where they've all gone. Yeah, I think. I mean, it feels like a good time to play Brentford off the back of 3 losses, but I have a feeling that Chelsea are the only team we've played this season who actually come off the back of a win. So I guess it won't be 7-0. But the other thing, I mean, the other thing is like, so they're missing their goalkeeper now for a few months, aren't they, Raya, which I think is going to be a bit of a blow for them. So there's something that we could, stick some balls under the keeper's nose. Shoot! Is that something we'd ever do? Yeah, just hit it from distance. I mean, who knows? He might do a Sanchez and leave an open goal, and we still wouldn't be able to put it in the net. But I mean, but look at, I kind of think like the Leeds game, no Bamford, Rafinha just back, didn't make any difference. Chelsea were missing their best 2 centre forwards, didn't make any difference. Cornet didn't play for Burnley, and that we got a point, fine. So we've been playing teams without their best players. So I mean, I hate to sound downbeat, but give me some hope for this one. I don't see it. I think at the very best we might spawn a goal from somewhere, but like I can't honestly say, having watched us yesterday, that we're going to put Brentford under any sort of pressure, because we didn't have a game plan yesterday, and unless Farke changed it markedly. And yeah, maybe go back to 4-2-3 on. We've played 3 different formations as far as I can make out of the season. We haven't played that yet, so who knows, that might work.
Literally, Steve has just said, we've not played that formation. Let's try that one. Suma didn't play when we played Brighton either, another good one, which is another one. I mean, yeah, it's just 28 games to go. I mean, that is an exciting prospect, isn't it? John, what's going to be your most intriguing point about Saturday coming up? What's the thing you really can't wait to see pan out?
We haven't scored an away goal yet, have we?
No.
Have we? No. So that's something to look forward to, isn't it? We can get an away goal.
Who's going to score?
Have we had an away corner yet?
Yeah, but we didn't against Chelsea.
No.
But
who knows? I mean, this is the same place that we're kind of repeating back on ourselves a little bit, just like the whole team is. What do we do? Everyone's saying change the formation. Everyone's saying bring that person in. Everyone's got an opinion about what to do. And the only person who matters is what Daniel Farke does, and he's not getting it right. So, I mean, it's gonna go right once, because it's just kind of the law of averages. Surely, let's say I'm getting numbers in again, Steve. Surely, by the law of averages, there should be one moment that Brentford won't play well and we play very well and manage to get a corner. Surely that will happen. But then, I mean, well, I'm not looking forward to it. That's a big problem. Again, I'm about to throw myself off the cliff here, but I'm not looking forward to it, and that's not a good place to be. You should be the opposite. You should go, right, let's have these people in red and white, because this is the time to go for it, and it's like we're thinking about how can we not get embarrassed again. That's not right, is it?
Just on some level of hope here. The next 4 games, right? The next 4 games, I think, are Brentford, Southampton, Wolves, and Newcastle. Now, in our current predicament, I don't predict we'll win any of those, but let's say we win 3 out of those 4, kind of back in it, sort of a little bit, maybe. So
maybe it's true. Wolves currently 2-0 up at home to Everton, by the way, and one of the informed teams in the division at the moment.
Marvelous.
But I do get very bored of hearing people, and not you, Steve. I'd never get bored of you.
Saying you're boring.
No, but the general like must win thing, and I say it myself. I'm bored of myself saying it. That actually, this is a must win game.
But then does that not come from the manager, as Anna said before, ruling out certain games and saying, well, we've got no chance in these ones? So then you're narrowing down the pool of games that you can win.
I think so. I was an exponent of this to a degree during the summer, because for me, what Norwich failed to grasp 2 years ago was that you can beat Manchester City all you want, but if you can't get the results against the teams around you, you have to do that, because that will always carry slightly more weight. So maybe for me, it wasn't the ruling out of getting a point at Manchester City. It was the making sure you don't do anything stupid in the games where you really do need a result, which again, for me, comes back to how livid I was at the second half against Watford, because to treat that game so carelessly and recklessly was just stupid, I thought, I have to say. And I think everything revolves around that. If Norwich at least get a draw, then we don't fall off a cliff, I think, in terms of belief. But that's what That's how I see that anyway. So we all predicted a win last week. I think we tried to. I can't remember.
Did we not?
That doesn't sound like the kind of thing I would have said. I've got to be honest.
I'm just trying to cling on to we've given it our bit. Does anyone want to do a prediction? It doesn't have to be the result. Go on,
I'll predict a win because that's how I like to do it. Because as much as I get stressed out by Norwich, I can't physically ever bring myself to say, "Oh, we're going to lose that match." I always think there's hope until it's mathematical.
Do you want to be manager? Do you want to be head coach?
Oh, I'd get him going more than he is at the moment.
Yeah, that's the spirit.
Would you have time to do program selling before the game as well? Do you think you could combine the two?
Yeah.
Oh, I do. When I'm program selling, I'm always telling people, today's the day, we're going to win. It's like your law of averages. I say that before every match, so eventually I'm going to be right.
Yeah, fingers crossed. There we go. Okay, well, Anna's predicted a win. John, you predicted you're going to follow it?
I'll be watching it. But I'm going to go for there's going to be a last-minute winner.
Great.
Ooh, that's my prediction.
That'll be exciting.
Exactly.
We
have a bit of tension for everyone. So it'll make everyone tune in and watch it.
I don't think we've had a late crushing defeat yet, have we?
Yeah, that's something to look forward to, then, isn't it?
Yeah, that'll be something different. Steve?
What's my prediction?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll lose, Michael. That's my prediction. I'm sorry, I can't offer you any more than that.
I think we're suffering from the fact that the game was only 24 hours ago. I think Sunday games don't suit us. Maybe not in this run.
When Saturday morning comes around, I'll feel very differently about it, I'm sure.
Good. I'm glad you will. It is the international break after this, where Norwich's international players will go and play some international football. And the ones who won't will probably get a few days off. So there you go. That's something to look forward to. That's into how the international break will work, and we'll see how it pans out. Did we get any more comments and questions of note? Let me see if I can have a quick look. Maybe let's pick the latest couple that we...
Any more praise for me?
All right, Anna, jeez, look at that. There you go, second pod in. Adam says 2-0 Brentford. Oh, well, that's not so bad, I suppose. As a prediction. Lots of people talking to each other, which is great, although it doesn't work particularly well for... I think my phone's about to ring as well, which is very exciting.
That was my ears. That's good.
I don't know what's going on there. But there we go. Yeah, I think
both...
There's a lot of messages. Sorry, I just said that. What they want Hugel back.
Yeah.
And I think you're all bonkers, whoever is going to say that.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
They're not really loving in at West Brom, are they?
Both Sargent and Ida have been accused of having 50p feet as well, which, if you put together, at least you've got £1. So that's not too bad.
Good point. Yeah, that's a very good point. I love Jordan.
How much is the programme now, Anna?
£3.50.
Ooh,
is it? So you can't even buy
50p feet.
Exactly. We need plenty more players.
You can buy golden goal though. Golden goals are £1.
Oh,
there you go.
Yes. Ever the sales.
And scratch them all and you'll lose everything. There's no point doing that either. What's the point of doing anything anymore?
Here we go. Jason Hayden says, best thing on Sunday was the rain stopped and the sun came out.
Yeah, that's a good point.
There we go. And Sam, I don't know what the first part of it was, but Sam W says, and Lafferty. So I'd love to know what the start of that sentence was. I don't think we'll be able to guess it. On that note, and a bit of a smile, I think we can say that is time for the 85th edition of On the Ball, probably the cheeriest version of the Norwich City podcast that is already looking forward to the bee sting puns. If you're yet to do so, make sure you subscribe via your podcast player of choice. The pod is available free for everyone on your usual player. And we are now streaming the recording of the podcast live in video form on my social media channels. As many of you will already know, just search Michael Bailey, The Athletic, Norwich City, and your preferred social platform, and hopefully it'll show up. Ratings and reviews wherever prompted are always hugely appreciated. And if you want to get in touch with any questions or topic proposals, sling me a direct message on Twitter, the handle at Michael J. Bailey. A big thank you to our guests this evening. Steve, thank you so much as always for sitting it out.
Thank you, Michael.
John, absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Can we say sorry to everyone listening to this? Just how low they must be feeling now.
Yeah.
Just put some happy music on.
Yeah. Consider this the end of the weekend. It's all written off now. No one needs to think about anything to do with football until 2 o'clock on Saturday, really. Unless you want to read any pieces on The Athletic, obviously. Thank you as always, John. Anna, thank you so much for joining us.
It's been fun.
Good. We'll have you back again, please. Is that okay?
Of course.
Lovely. I love it. We will be back in a fortnight with loads more Canaries capers, literally Canaries capers, in another On the Ball Norwich City podcast. Until then, make sure you have a very good evening and never mind the danger. There we go. We are clear. Steve, John, Anna, all of you Twitterers out there, welcome. If any of you have stumbled across this for the first time and are wondering what on earth is going on, why the podcast hasn't actually ended, you can listen to On the Ball podcast number 42, which went live on September the 8th, 2020. Cool, those were good days now, weren't they? It's all explained there. You can email this bonus part of the podcast directly, Twitterkers, Twitter, KERS, @icloud.com, or use the hashtag Twitterkers on Twitter. Just don't explain what it refers to, because this is a secret club for only those who discover it. So welcome to Wits End, which did cause a slight consternation when a tweet went out that literally only said Todd Cantwell, hashtag Twitters, which I think caused a few people probably a few disconcerting looks, which it was probably a slight drawback with the anonymity of the
nature of the feature, Michael.
Yes, because the nature of the feature is, of course, Zodiac Whitbread, which is basically Norwich City and star sign puns. But without that context, that probably looked like a pretty horrendous tweet. So apologies for that. I don't really know what else to say apart from sorry, and just forget it happened, and hopefully we just move on. Twitterkers.co.uk, my mouth has stopped working, is the website. Not really, no, it's all falling down around me. I also had a message, someone saying that I keep slandering Josh Sargent, which I feel is harsh, but I can't see
calling
the
a footballer or something like that.
Well, you can say that, apparently I can't, but there we go. So
slandering him in what way? Are you kind of bringing him into disrepute somehow?
I can't.
You're saying his hair's fake. Is that what you're saying?
He's not a real ginger. Strawberry blonde.
He's perms. That's what you're saying.
I do really find it horrible if I end up being harsh on one person overly. I don't like that, because it's
like
not
John.
about that. No one, no one is trying. No one is trying to fail. No one is, but
wouldn't it be a really good, interesting experiment if one of the players was trying to fail? Like, in the long run, they kind of release themselves at the end of their footballing career. Say, actually, I tried to fail and bring all these clubs down.
Yeah. Do you think
has that ever been done before?
If someone deliberately kicked the ball in their own goal, do you think, and kept doing it, do you think their contract would get torn up? Is there recourse to do that then?
No, my granddad seems to think that they genuinely were trying to fail against Leeds.
That is quite a granddad view sometimes, isn't it? So
absolutely,
it does happen.
I
probably should.
My granddad.
Well, yeah,
I'll finally be accepted.
You'll be able to have
with that jumper. You get
it's nice, isn't it?
Oh, that's a bit noisy. Well, I can't find the message, but apologies if you think I'm slandering Josh.
So we didn't talk about it. So when we lose 6-0 against Brentford and it's by half time and everyone's gone mad, and Farke goes, "Draw, I'm going to resign. I'm so sorry. I'm going to resign." Who do you want to come in? We haven't talked about it. I don't know football well enough, and I don't want everyone's going, get Mark Robbins in. He's had 10 good games. That's it. He's been like a kind of a journeyman manager for a while. My bloody light's got out again.
What is with the lights, by the way?
So I'm using my monitor as a light. If I use the backlight, you can't see me because the light's from behind. You can't see me anymore. So there's no point doing it. So I'm using a light as my normal monitor. So that's why I have to keep moving the mouse to trigger it, because the screensaver's going on. I could turn the screensaver off. This is so boring.
Carry on. Who?
Back to your original point.
Who?
As I've said, I'm probably different to Steve because I worry that the squad isn't good enough anyway. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure it matters.
Can I bring up my granddad again because he he genuinely suggested Sam Allardyce.
Yeah, he is out of work.
I think we should play the game. Who would I just think they give it to Neil to the end of the season. Just give it to Neil Adams. You know, he can do Webber's job. He can do Farke's job. Just get him to take over from everyone, and he can do the job of all 100 people that Webber mentioned.
It's going to be a very expensive payoff as well, isn't it? Because he just only signed a 4 years about 2-3 months ago. Unless there's something in the contract. Who knows about contracts? They're boring as well, talking about that. But no.
Maybe we should get Ian Culverhouse. He knows how to keep Norwich up.
Yeah. We could get Ian in.
Shooting's out of work.
Actually,
Neil and Lambert are all out of work.
Where we should get them all together, because between the three of them, you'd have a really tight, exciting, energetic, free-flowing football team.
Get the gang back together. Yeah,
I'm sure they could work together as a team. They'll all have been out long enough, out of work, that they'll be like, "Oh, you want me to share the job? Yeah, I'll do it."
Yeah.
So I think they'd be a great trio. Imagine it. They could take it in turns with pressers.
Of Norwich City managers, you know.
I mean, maybe they should just come in and join Daniel, and then you've got like a 4-person, because then Daniel already knows what the team can do. So then you've got a 4-person managerial team.
They could start a band. Farke's your front man, Neil on the drums, Lambert on bass, and Chris Hughton on lead guitar. Easy.
Well, they could do that after they've coached the team to all the wins.
Oh yeah, better do that bit first. Yeah.
They could do both. I think there'd be room for for them to do both. I actually think that's a great idea. I don't know if that answers your question, John.
It does. It's what I was looking for.
But yeah, I don't know. Who would you like? Who would you like, Steve?
do you know what I want? I want someone I've never heard of, like Farke. Just get him. Someone I've not heard of, please.
But then,
that's my only.
Even that, is that even possible at the moment? Does Brexit even allow you just to pluck someone out who hasn't got the experience? I'm not sure. But anyway, let's forget about football and move on to exciting matters. Now, sad news, Steve. Norwich didn't win at the weekend, which means the space puns.
Doesn't mean that I can't do one right now, though.
Well, it does if
David Mooneyverse. So it's just
wow. Oh my goodness!
Hey, David, I'm setting the bar low.
Why don't you go David Moon E?
Oh yeah. Didn't even think of that. See, they are out there, people. The puns.
They are out there. That's not a threat.
Like the fact went through all the players we've ever had just have an E at the end of it, even though it's got the word moon in the middle of it. That was good. Excellent. Good work.
Well, we're not. I've had a couple of them in, Steve, but we're not going to talk about them until Norwich win a Premier League game. So when Norwich win a Premier League game,
my beard. I'm not shaving it until we win.
Yeah,
look like can't wait Christmas by the time.
Can't wait to see what you're going to look like. It does though give us more time to talk about the Zodiac whitbread, of course. Thank you, Alex Ware, for that. I won't go through the whole list again this week.
No.
Maybe in a few weeks' time I will. I think, Anna, you've got some, haven't you?
Well, I wanted to hear the list just in case I've accidentally picked up on one that is already done.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you what. All right, here's the list. Gemini Goss, Wes Leo Julio Han, Leon McKenzie, Bill Leo Gilmore, D. Leo Smith, Leonel Hernandez, also Max Aries, Terry's Alcock, Tor Russell Martin, Virgor and Marich, Leroy Fergo, Nell Hernandez, Alan Fergow, Josh Sargentarius, Sagittarian Bennett, Sagittarian Culverhouse, Ozan Cabaquarius, Scorpionel Hernandez, Capricornel Hernandez, Lee Brown B. That is, by the way, still the worst, Steve. And here. Mark Libra. Anna, what have you got?
I've got two.
I've got two. Anna came with 10, but there are two that we haven't read out. Go on, Anna.
Mark Libra.
I'll save the best till last. I'll go Pierre Les Leo.
Pierre Les Leo. Okay.
Leo,
yeah, I like that. Les Leo. That's good. I've
got a good one The second one's the best one, though.
Okay, don't pick it up.
Jakob
Yeah.
Torrentson.
Jakob Torresson. Yeah. I think I like the first one. Anna, thank you. Yeah, your top work.
I'm going to leave now. You've
That was, yeah. Hey, you brought more to the table than John, who's just sneered at that list of
Have you got
pies.
one, John?
I haven't. I was thinking of one and I couldn't. The only thing I got was chicken balti Pisces, but that's no good, is it? It's not. He's not a player.
I don't
See,
remember
so
him up
you-
front.
Yeah, look at Michael Bay just there sneering away because he gets free food off in his little cozy, warm, journalistic.
So that was a reference to the halftime pie. Is that what
It was,
you're-
yeah. Chicken
Okay.
balti
Well,
Pisces.
yeah, we could extend it to just anything like
Well,
Carrow
that's
Road.
what I've been brought in for, just to open this up to all football in general, rather than just
You're free
players.
spirit, aren't you? Free spirit.
We might need to if Norwich haven't won a game, by the time we get to May and we still can't tap into the space
Why not
ones.
turn it back on again?
So there we go. My screen is frozen. Oh no, there we go. So we had submitted in. Shall I read out all of these? Yes. Well, Amarillo Army came in with Todd Cantwell, obviously, as we
Still
heard
good
at the
there
top.
again.
So
move on swiftly.
it does provide an issue in that we haven't got any for cancer yet, and that might be a tricky one to address. So we'll have to see what we do about that one. Moving on, Rob Scagnelli, hope I've said that right, says Dimitris Geminiulis. Geminiulis.
It's not awful. Yeah.
It's not awful. David Hughes says Mark Leoklitos, which is
Leoklitos, yeah. Okay.
in fact, it's Michael, isn't it? I don't know why I've written Michael.
Right.
Michael Leoklitos. Forget I said that first time. Michael Leoklitos. That's a good one. Nick Dye has Pisces Malou. Pierre Les Malou. Pisces Malou.
Oh, mine was better than that.
Yeah, I think yours was better than that, Anna, to be honest. But it's much better than this one from Shane McGeary. Sorry, Shane. He did write it in a tweet, which maybe is something that needs to be read out because it was quite a remarkable description of how we wanted it to be portrayed. If I can get there really quickly. He says, another terrible star sign pun. I mean, they're not all terrible. I just like to clarify that, Shane says. You could turn Paul Pesky Salido into Paul Pisces Salido, or go one step further and Paul Pisces Scorpio.
I think if you just said Paul Pisces Scorpio, it's just like, what you've lost me there. Paul Pisces Scorpio. Oh yeah.
Shane, I think you've struck the equivalent of Norwich's performance on Saturday in a pun, really. So well done. I think they're all the ones we had sent in. As I said, I've got some space ones here, but I can't read them out. They're just going to have to be locked away until Norwich beat Brentford on Saturday, which is fine. We'll all take that. Now, we're still looking for your missed Norwich City games or missed Norwich City goal stories, if any come to mind that you'd like to share.
I hate to keep bringing them up, but can I bring my granddad up again?
Yes, please. Love you, Grant. What's his name, Anna?
Keith.
Keith say?
Keith King.
Keith King.
Oh.
Keith King.
King
Keith.
of all Keiths.
Go for it, Anna.
The season where we went up the first time round, he missed the Nottingham Forest goal.
Oh,
He left.
the 3-3.
Yeah, the 3-3. He missed it. He was like, because he thought the ref was looking at his watch and he was like, right, good try. See you later. He got down the bottom of the stairs and they scored.
Keith.
Well, he didn't wait to hear the whistle. He just sort of, does he go?
Good try. See you later. Got down the bottom of the stairs and they scored.
Wow, you got a feel for Keith there. Got a feel for Keith there.
Can you send him out every like 90 minutes? Just get him on his way.
Yeah.
Ref's looking at his watch again. Better start heading down those
Come on,
stairs.
Keith, off you get.
I've got one more here. Is Nick Dye sent me a message. I did say I was going to read it out last week, so here we go. Nick Dye says, as a 7-year-old, I attended a Norwich City Christmas party hosted in the Barclay stand inside. I got to meet and receive autographs from Jeremy Goss and Mike Walker. To this day, these are the only autographs I ever collected outside of a signed 1993-94 season team photo signed by all players and staff, which was purchased by my dad during a Brian Gunn leukemia appeal auction. However, I clearly cared. I ripped up Mike Walker's autograph after his move to Everton, but never dismissed Jeremy Goss's. My signature, which I practiced a lot when younger, is inspired by the glorious J and G in the autograph, and it's never changed. The Y in my last name is a replica of his G. Just saying. Nick,
nice, isn't it?
Lovely.
Nice story.
I mean, it does seem quite dubious that your signature would be something that says Jeremy Goss, but you know, it's all good. I haven't seen Goss's signature that I can remember, so I'm sure it's suitably flamboyant. Right. Well, unless anyone else has got Kenny other business,
I have a bit of Kenny other business. Are we allowed to? I don't know if we're allowed to plug other podcasts, but Dan Brigham of this parish was on the Totally Football Show last Thursday talking about how disastrous we are ahead of the Leeds game. So there's a little bit of foresight there. So yeah, I think he's about maybe 3/4 of an hour in if you just want to listen to Dan's bit, but thought I'd give him a plug. They're on The Athletic as well, aren't they? And so are you, Michael. So
yes,
practically the same thing, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, that's my and also John actually in that light looks a bit like a reverend. Do you know what I mean? He's got a slightly, yeah, you do. You look like you've got a collar.
That's true.
Yeah, sorry again for people listening who can't see, but
we do need prayers at this point.
Yeah.
Both this podcast and Norwich.
I've just looked at Jeremy Goss's signature.
Oh yeah,
it's quite bubbly, I would say.
Yeah,
the J and the G are quite bubbly.
That
bubbly thing.
I admire his personality. I think
maybe no, but
I admire Nick. You know, being influenced by a Norwich City autograph.
That's really nice. I like that. There's many people.
Sorry, can I just mention? I've seen some of the recent signatures from recent teams. I don't get it. Some of them are literally squiggles. It's literally a squiggle. You couldn't decipher who it was in a million years. How did they get away with doing that?
They're probably out of practice because now people just ask for photos. But it would be good to know if any of you guys out there have got any, strange or unique Norwich City influences on your day-to-day life, like on your signature is quite a big one, isn't it? Yeah, yeah.
I really like that.
If anyone could think of any, let us know. Twitterkers@icloud.com.
Darren Edian influenced my bracelet. Does that work? Because Darren Edian used to have a little bracelet, didn't he? It'll just dangle down around his thing when he used to play. And I got one especially. I told him that once, and he looked at me like I was a psycho, which I am, but.
What did you come across? I know. I used to play Sunday League football really badly for Trunch Social, and Craig Bellamy scored the winning goal at Portman Road for Norwich. It was the first time I'd ever seen Norwich win at Portman Road. And when he celebrated, he took his shirt off and revealed a pretty bog standard white vest, which you'd never see a professional footballer nowadays wear. So obviously the club shop, not missing a trick, decided to sell a load of white vests with simply the vest written on the front and Bellamy number 8 on the back. Well, I proceeded to wear that vest every time I played football on a Sunday. I can tell you that much. Didn't make any. I don't remember once being able to celebrate with it, but still got the vest somewhere. Maybe I should wear it for a podcast. Maybe
next time Norwich win, let's bring everything out next time.
Yeah, right. Next time when Norwich win a Premier League game, I will do the podcast
whipping his vest out
in my vest. Well, I might wear it over a jumper. I don't think anyone wants to literally see me just in a vest. But okay, well, I'll try and remember that. There we go.
I'll bring them in the back.
Yeah. Lowest view figures done.
If your dog collar doesn't, John, then Michael's vest definitely will.
And I think on that note,
doesn't it? That's what we're going for now.
On that
really
note,
scrape the bottom of the barrel.
I think we should just round it up and put it out of its misery. This is like Norwich's performance on Sunday had the referee not blown his whistle, isn't it? This is literally what would
the last 20 minutes totally pointless.
That's but pretty much being 45 minutes. Okay, well, in that case, Steve, John, Anna, thank you so much for your company this evening. It has been absolutely wonderful. And if you could say goodbye on 3 all together, that would be wonderful. 1, 2, 3.
Bye.
Bye.
Well done, everyone. There we go. I've removed them and I have muted them. And all that's left really is for me to say thanks for listening to the podcast, and we'll see you next week. Until then, that's a wrap. And that is the end of the podcast. We are done, everyone. That was a long one. Felt quite cathartic. Potentially got a bit lost towards the end there, but hey, it's all part of the fun. Hope you enjoyed watching. We will do it again next week at the same time, when we, of course, celebrate Norwich's 3-2 victory at Brentford, which will be joyous. The survival train will be back in full swing. I'm trying. I really am trying. In the meantime, have a lovely week. Enjoy yourselves. And I'm trying to think of what's going on. I don't know if there's much going on, but get your stuff in that we've asked for if you want to submit that. And I will see you at the Brentford Stadium. I don't even know what it's called. The new Brentford Stadium on Saturday. In the meantime, have loads of fun and look after each other. See you later.